All right, what is up, guys? I am here today to talk about the Jake Paul versus Ben Askren fight. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone kind of expected something like this to happen to some degree. Ben is kind of notorious for not being the most explosive, athletic guy. He's more known for his static strength, um, and he was also outsized by Jake Paul by quite a bit. I think Jake had 3 inches on him in height, and I think 2 inches in reach. So Jake did have quite a size advantage. Was a bit more explosive, a bit more technical in the striking. So yeah, we pretty much got what we thought we would see, I guess, to a large degree. Jake Paul, coming out looking cleaner, sharper, more explosive. Ben kind of being flat, plodding forward like he always did, even in his MMA fights. And yeah, he ended up getting cracked. I thought the stoppage was early but inevitable. He got cracked early, and you could see Paul was even loading up on that shot. So it wasn't. Ben didn't see it coming, so it wasn't like it was a really sneaky shot that he got hit with. It was a pretty telegraphed shot, and he still got cracked. Um, that being said, Askren might have been able to wear him down a bit, but it was stopped how it was stopped. So, um, but yeah, I guess like that's kind of what we expected, right? Like Ben's almost 40 years old, retired, out of shape, just had hip surgery, never been known for striking. Was always a great MMA fighter, but that was entirely because of how good his wrestling is. He would, throw a few fakes just to get in close and then grab a hold of guys and smash them on the ground. So when, he fought Ben Askren, it wasn't really surprising that or when he fought Jake Paul, sorry, it wasn't really surprising that he wasn't able to keep up with him striking. And I think that, it's kind of obvious that's why Jake picked him. So yeah, where do they go on from here? Well, obviously Ben's just going to retire. He was retired before this fight. He just kind of came out of it to get in shape and make some money. That's what he said himself. Jake Paul, I'm not really sure. He says he wants to be taken as a serious boxer, but I'm not sure how true that actually is. I think part of that's just his marketing gimmick. He really only seems to be after money, which I mean is kind of smart, really, for to a certain extent, right? Like it's going to be hard for him to compete with those guys that have been training since they were 6 years old nonstop. Um, he's a late comer to the sport. I think he's like 22, 23, something like that. And yeah, he's 24. So yeah, he's 24 years old. He's only been boxing for 3 years, so he didn't even start doing boxing until he was 21. So I mean, like there is a chance that he could end up being a really, really good boxer, but I mean, it is not the most likely thing. Although he does have the time and the money to put into it, right? Like he's not a guy that has to go work a 9 to 5, so he can put in that time that he needs to put in order to get good if he really actually wanted to. And it does seem like he's doing that. Like he did look really sharp. Although he was telegraphing a lot, and he did kind of panic a little bit at the start when Ben hit him. Overall, he definitely looked, sharp, athletic, had some clean strikes. It was a good showing. But yeah, I think he's called out Dylan Dennis. He called out Daniel Cormier. He called out McGregor. He's called out a bunch of different people. I think the most likely fight is probably going to be the Dylan Dennis fight if Dylan's actually willing to take it. But I don't know if Dylan will be willing to take it because Dylan is kind of a troll, and he talks a lot of shit, but I don't think he's actually that dumb. And I don't know, maybe his striking is better than I think it is, but as far as I know, he's essentially a pure jiu-jitsu guy, right? So yeah, I would be very surprised if Dylan takes it. On the other hand, like when you call it McGregor will probably let him up. Obviously he has a huge size advantage on McGregor. He's about 190 pounds, 6'1". McGregor, I think, is 5'8" or 5'9". He fights at up to 170. He usually weighs in just over 170 before he does his weight cuts and stuff. But he has fought as low as 45, so there is a decent size difference between them. But I would imagine McGregor will light him up. Cormier will just jack his shit up because Cormier is way more explosive, way more athletic than he is, and he's a lot like even though Cormier is a wrestler, he's a lot cleaner boxer than Askren is. Cormier was way more well-rounded than Askren ever was. So Cormier would probably completely jack his shit up if he actually got that fight with Cormier. So I'd be very surprised if that ever happens. But I think he does have a good chance of beating Dylan Dennis. And there's probably some other, if he really wants to just get those money fights and, kind of blow up his name as far as like casual fight fans are concerned. Because like a lot of casual fight fans, they just hear that he beat up Ben Askren in a boxing match. And now they instantly, because they know Ben Askren's a really good fighter, former top 5 welterweight, they don't realize the intricacies of fighting. So they think that because Jake beat him, that actually, like in a boxing match, that actually means Jake's a really good fighter, even though it doesn't, because Ben was a good MMA fighter because of his wrestling. He was never a striker, right? So, but just because Jake can beat Ben in pure striking doesn't really mean much for Jake. But it does to the casual fan, right? Like the casual average, like, Snoop Dogg's probably a perfect example of this. Like right after the fight, he's like, "Wow, Jake's a bad motherfucker. I told you, man, he's a bad motherfucker." It's like, not really. I mean, it did look sharp. It did look clean. It was an impressive win, but it doesn't really prove that much. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I imagine he'll try to fight Dylan Dennis next, but I don't know who he'll actually get. Maybe he'll get another celebrity, like another YouTuber or something. Him and FaZe, what's his name? FaZe Sensei, the FaZe guy that does all the fight content. He's a MMA fighter. I think he has. I'm not sure if he's a Muay Thai or karate background, but I could see him being willing to fight him. But I don't know if they get along or if there's beef there, or if they're buddies or if they'd even be willing to fight each other. But that could be a good fight. Jake would probably get his shit jacked up there too, though, because that's another guy who's been training martial arts since he was really young, and I'm pretty sure at a fairly high level too. I'm not exactly sure what kind of level FaZe was competing at, or Sensei was competing at. I guess they're all FaZe. That's a clan name, but yeah, that might be a fight that could happen in the future too, depending on how they view each other. But yeah, that's about it.